honorable members of the Security Council, honorable Special Representative of the Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to be here and to see you every 3 months, but let me remind you why we are here. On 10th of June, 1999, Resolution 1244 was adopted in order to resolve the grave humanitarian situation in Kosovo and to provide for the safe and free return of all refugees and displaced persons in their homes in the aftermath of a terrible war and ethnic cleansing. Please try to read Security Council Resolution 1244 again, just for a moment, and you will be lost as we talk about a country that no longer exists, former Yugoslavia. And while UNMIK was established for an initial period of 12 months, it continued to operate not only for more than 12 years, but today, after 18 years, we are still here because of this resolution, which, by the way, does not require Secretary General to report on the United Nations Interim Administration Mission every 3 months. Therefore, let's keep it real and let's bring UNMIK to an end. Times have changed since 1999. Kosovo today is free, independent, and sovereign state. There is absolutely no need for UNMIK to be present, as it has no role, no function, except for some self-invented initiatives that are being put in place to justify its existence. On budget terms alone, over $400 million have been spent since 2009 to maintain a mission whose mandate was concluded years ago. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, millions of refugees all around the world, the largest number since World War II, 65 million of them. I am sure UNMIK's millions and resources can be put at a much better use. It is sad to use your taxpayers' money for a repetitive and not very thoughtful projects. Instead of shrinking its budget and returning it, we see that UNMIK is building and it's funding permanent solar panels in a rented building in Kosovo. Member states should take action on what has been repeated many times in this respectable chamber. Downsize the mission on many levels and bring it to an end. Furthermore, at a time when the world is facing serious challenges and crises across all continents, we come here and take your valuable time just because our northern neighbor insists on a charade. Just last month, Western Balkan leaders met in Trieste to discuss economic cooperation between our countries. Now, in Berlin, process forums and meetings, Kosovo is an equal member. When we meet in Berlin, Vienna, or Paris, Serbia and Kosovo share the same table as equals, as two states. Our flag standing next to theirs is not a problem for Serbia. So the question is, why do they insist on asymmetry in this format here? Why is this dichotomy being tolerated when it is clearly being misused to project an image that does not match the reality? In fact, can you guess what would happen tomorrow if this meeting did not take place today? Let me tell you, nothing would. I know that. My colleagues from Belgrade know that. We all know that. I find it not only unnecessary, but also irresponsible from our side to come here and bother you with useless debates at a time when your attention is needed to address real challenges and problems where UN has an important role to play. Kosovo, in the meantime, held democratic elections on June 11th for the third time since our independence. And these were the most successful, competitive, and peaceful ones to the date. The turnout was especially high amongst the Serbian community. International observers noted that Kosovo's parliamentary elections met the highest international standards, with the exception of northern Kosovo, where local Serbian leaders faced pressure and threats, often from the Serbian state itself. After elections, as in all democracies, we are now in a phase of creation of government. As we speak today, the parliamentary constituent session continues to meet, reaching the quota for electing its bodies and later the government. Despite obvious disagreements and differences, all political parties in Kosovo share one common objective, that of Euro-Atlantic integration. On this, you can rest assured. While our path toward European Union has been sealed with the entry into force of the Stabilization and Association Agreement, we are now focused more than ever on starting the process for Partnership for Peace with NATO. In this context, Kosovo's institutions have been working hard alongside our partners to conclude the process of transformation of our security forces into armed forces. We have, for way too long, been consumers of security. We believe it is time to not only fulfill our sovereign duty by establishing our own armed forces, but also to contribute to the regional and international security infrastructure. The challenges we face today are borderless, and they demand that we all work together, side by side. Kosovo cannot afford to sit and be a silent observer. We want to be an active participant and contribute. We are very thankful for Vice President Pence's statement 2 weeks ago in Podgorica at the Adriatic Charter Summit, where VP loudly and clearly articulated US's support for Kosovo's full membership in this organization. We will do everything on our side to convince our Serbian citizens that Kosovo's army will be their army too, and there is absolutely nothing to fear. It is my pleasure to inform you that we have already started to reap the fruits of our efforts. Last month, on 7th of July, Kosovo security forces organized the ceremony for the graduation of 61 new cadets, 58 Kosovo Serbs and 3 Kosovo Montenegrians. Today, they are active members of KSF, serving in all of KSF units. So while we will talk to our Serbian citizens to address their concerns, we will not allow anyone to have a veto power over this process. During the last several months, we have been faced with a very aggressive and unconstructive attitude from our northern neighbor. Instead of normalizing relations, Serbia has been creating unnecessary obstacles in different regional and international forums. Not to mention the violation of the implementation of other Brussels agreements, some of which have been completely blocked, such as the ones on energy, justice, and the recognition of diplomas. Others have been disrupted in different phases of implementation, such as the agreement on cadastre, civil protection, dismantlement, revitalization of the Mitrovica Bridge, revitalization of the main street in northern Mitrovica, full dismantlement of Serbian parallel structures in Kosovo, etc. Sabotages continue, and the most concerning thing is Serbia's duality in pretending to implement agreements and simultaneously continuing to support its parallel structures in Kosovo, including the illegal municipalities in the northern and other part of Kosovo. Let me reassure you, ladies and gentlemen, that Kosovo, on its part, will implement all agreements reached in Brussels and in line with the recommendations from our Constitutional Court. We will establish the Association of the Serbian Municipalities. We always talk about normalization, but normalization cannot be unilateral. Normalization and reconciliation cannot be achieved at the expense of truth and justice. One of the latest shameful actions from Serbia was banning the former president, Madame Atifete Jahjaga, from entering Serbia to participate at an event in Belgrade, which was meant to boost the dialogue between the two countries. Madame Jahjaga was intended to attend the promotion of a book containing testimonies from women tortured and raped during the war in Kosovo. Acknowledging the truth about war crimes in Kosovo is the only way for both societies to move forward. President Jahjaga was not able to read her speech in Belgrade. Therefore, I want to read a part of it here. The stories presented in the book are not only stories of torture and abuse. They are stories of the cruelest form of torture. These are stories of rape, rape used as a tool of war. These are stories of a truth that has been attempted to be concealed, hidden, and buried. Over the years, I have met hundreds of survivors of sexual violence during the war in different parts of my country. Carefully and patiently, I have listened to their stories. I have cried for those who needed me to cry with them. And I have stayed strong for those who needed me to be strong. I have heard a story of a woman from Drenica region who was gang raped continuously by Serbian paramilitary forces over 6 months. I have spoken to a woman in Jakova whose body was mutilated while she was raped. Just recently, I met the child of a war rape victim who died without receiving the justice she hoped for so many years. I truly hope that you read this book, share it with your family and friends, ask your government to punish the perpetrators, and call for reconciliation with your neighbors. We shall not let anyone to keep us hostage of the past. The victims of these crimes will never be able to find peace unless the perpetrators of these crimes are brought to justice. This is a precondition for long-lasting peace, good neighborly relations, and stable future for the next generations. The future of our countries lies in our hands. Let it be future of reconciliation and peace. End of quotation. Ladies and gentlemen, no trial, no allegation, no insinuation, and certainly no speech today can change the history. The war in Kosovo happened in front of the eyes of the world, in front of the eyes of this chamber. That's why the world decided to act. Any attempt to rewrite history will fail. Kosovo Liberation Army is not a terrorist organization. It is the most successful liberation movement in the recent history. Vlora Citaku and Ramush Haradinaj didn't travel to Belgrade to fight. They fought in their homes, in their country, with the aim of protecting civilians and liberating a nation. So while we fuel this kind of narratives, fake narratives, it is difficult to imagine how one is being sincere about the past. Serbia needs to deal with its own past, not only because of Kosovo, because you know what? Kosovo has its own path now. We are free. We are independent. And that will never change. But Serbia needs to deal with its own past only and also because of the sake of their children, of their future. And denying Kosovo citizens the right to exist as a state because I am Albanian. I've heard that before. Actually, there was an entire operation to deport us from Kosovo because we were Albanians. Does that mean I have to go and live in Albania? Kosovo is a state that belongs to all its citizens, Albanians, Serbs, Montenegrins, Roma, Turks, Bosnians. It belongs to all of us. And no one will ever tell me again that just because I'm an Albanian, I don't deserve to live there. We have lived there with centuries, and I don't want to give you a long lesson on history because I'm sure you're not here for that. But if you go for summer holidays, you can find a book. There are so many books by professionals, academics, who tell the story of Albanians in the Balkans. Ladies and gentlemen, in the last couple of days, a new debate has been generated in Serbia. One initiated by the Serbian president, calling for a historic deal between Serbia and Kosovo, and calling for a compromise. Now allow me to state Kosovo's independence, as declared in 2008, is a compromise. Ahtisaari's proposal was difficult and painful compromise. Now, all of a sudden, the compromise has become our position. That will not stand. Renewing the ideas of solutions along ethnic lines is dangerous for the entire region. If we reject multiculturalism and ethnic diversity within our own states, within our own borders, then how on earth do we plan to exist and coexist in the European Union, much less in ever interdependent and ever interconnected world. Allow me to say it loud and clear. Kosovo and its independence is not a temporary project. Kosovo is here to stay forever. Normalization and reconciliation cannot be achieved through partition and subjugation. Ladies and gentlemen, this debate doesn't do justice to what Kosovo is today. I would be remiss not to mention that Kosovo has emerged as a place where youth excels in many fields on a daily basis. Just last month, 6 youngsters from Kosovo, 3 girls and 3 boys from Bonevat Makerspace, constructed Europe's first teen-built electric car in Jakova. This extraordinary example of ingenuity not only makes us proud of the youth that we have, but these teens themselves, through their innovation, educate all of us about becoming more aware of our surroundings and environment. DokuFest, the biggest cultural event in Kosovo, took place last week in the beautiful city of Prizren. Even though Kosovo, because of the circumstances, did not have a film school for many years, it managed to develop and host one of the top 10 international documentary and film festivals in the world. DokuFest each year grows larger and brings people together to work and collaborate with not only the best producers and artists from the region, but from across the world, placing Kosovo where it belongs, on the world stage. As the slogan of this year's edition of DokuFest suggests, future is not dead for Kosovars. It is very much alive. And this future is alive for all of its citizens. Albanians, Serbs, and the rest. It is unfortunate that this chamber is being misused to promote narratives and to fuel hate in our own domestic audiences. It is true that some Serbs left Kosovo after the war, the same way they left from Croatia or Bosnia or Serbia itself. But to wave here numbers that are simply not true is not correct. The only reason why Serbs did not participate in large numbers in the census is because Serbian government called them not to participate in the census. There was massive campaign from Belgrade's government calling Serbs not to participate in the census. So we have the census data, which we agree needs to be revised. But then we also have election data. Who is voting on behalf of the Serbs in Kosovo? The numbers do not add up. only in the last elections, we had around 70,000 Serbs voting inside Kosovo, only in the north. So please, let's be realistic. Come and visit Kosovo, and you will see that this debate here does no justice to it. Thank you.
أشكر السيدة تشيتاكو على بيانها. أعطي الكلمة الآن إلى أعضاء مجلس الأمن، وأعطي الكلمة إلى السيدة ممثلة السويد، فتتفضل.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, let me begin by thanking the Special Representative Tanin for his comprehensive briefing today. I would also like to thank the First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dacic, and Ambassador Citaku for their statements to the Council. Mr. President, clear and undeniable progress has been achieved in Kosovo since the end of the conflict, now almost 2 decades ago. However, building peaceful and prosperous societies requires constant vigilance and unwavering commitment by all political leaders, as well as from the international community that stands with them. We welcome that the early elections in June were genuinely competitive and peaceful in most parts of Kosovo, while we regret the incidents that took place in certain Serbian majority municipalities. We now look forward to the completion of the constitutive session of the Assembly and the formation of a government. A new government needs to swiftly start implementing reforms to the benefit of the people living in Kosovo. Sweden looks forward to continuing its bilateral development cooperation as well as its political support to Kosovo's progress in the areas of democracy, human rights, rule of law, and sustainable and socioeconomic development for both women and men. Mr. President, the peoples of Serbia and Kosovo are looking towards a future together within the European Union. To this end, the normalization of relations is key. Regional cooperation and good neighborly relations are crucial for a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Western Balkans. Pristina and Belgrade need to re-engage and revitalize the EU-facilitated dialogue. Both parties must implement their respective parts of the agreement, most notably with respect to the dismantling of parallel structures in Serb majority areas and the establishment of the Association of Serb Municipalities. It is essential that the status issue does not hinder Kosovo on its European path or prevent its membership of international organizations. Within the framework of the normalization process, women's participation is key to foster sustainable and inclusive peace and stability. We note that the report of the Secretary General describes that UN Women, together with the Kosovo Special Prosecution Office, organized an expert meeting on conflict-related sexual violence. Sweden would welcome if the next report of the Secretary General could include reporting on these matters, as well as gender-aggregated data. Mr. President, the UN and UNMIK have made invaluable contributions to bring us where we are today. Present challenges, however, must be dealt with within the framework of the EU integration process, including together with EULEX. In concluding, we therefore reiterate our interest in receiving the SRSG Tanin's view on possible prospects to further downsize the mission's structure, size, and tasks, as well as the possibility to adjust the reporting and briefing period from 3 to 6 months. Thank you.
أشكر السيدة ممثلة السويد على بيانها، وأعطي الكلمة إلى السيد ممثل الأوروغواي. فليتفضل.
Muchas gracias. Agradezco al representante especial del secretario general y jefe de la UNMIK, señor Zahir Tanin, por su informe. Doy las gracias al señor ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Serbia, Ivica Dacic, por su intervención, y hago lo propio con la intervención de la señora Vlora Citaku. Como hemos mencionado en anteriores oportunidades, Uruguay aboga por el estricto respeto al principio de integridad territorial y por la observancia de la resolución del Consejo de Seguridad 1244 como la base jurídica para la resolución de la situación en Kosovo. Quisiera comenzar por reconocer la importancia de la reunión oficiosa de alto nivel celebrada el pasado día 3 de julio, convocada por la alta representante de la Unión Europea para Asuntos Exteriores y Política de Seguridad, Federica Mogherini, y el compromiso de ambos líderes, lo cual constituye un primer paso para el reinicio del proceso de diálogo entre Belgrado y Pristina, luego de la pausa impuesta por la celebración de elecciones en Serbia y Kosovo. Asimismo, alentamos a los líderes kosovares a trabajar constructivamente y avanzar en el nombramiento de sus autoridades. Destacamos igualmente la importancia del proceso de normalización de las relaciones entre Pristina y Belgrado y del cumplimiento de los compromisos ya asumidos a nivel internacional. En relación con las tensiones e incidentes al inicio del periodo que cubre el informe del secretario general, reafirmamos una vez más el rechazo a cualquier retórica belicosa, incitación al odio, la desestabilización y los ultranacionalismos. En otro orden, vemos con interés el diálogo interno lanzado por el señor presidente Aleksandar Vučić sobre Kosovo. El trabajo de los líderes regionales en busca de acuerdos beneficiosos puede ser un activo para ambas comunidades. Uruguay considera fundamental avanzar por el camino de la reconciliación, el respeto por las minorías y su correcta integración a la sociedad. En tal sentido, preocupa la limitación a la libertad de circulación de los ciudadanos serbo-kosovares debido al no reconocimiento de los pasaportes emitidos por la Dirección de Coordinación del Ministerio del Interior de Serbia y a las dificultades que denuncian para obtener documentos en Kosovo. Por otra parte, damos la bienvenida al establecimiento en Pristina de un centro de recursos para personas desaparecidas, iniciativa que agrupa a albaneses y serbios, y congratulamos la realización de un evento bajo los auspicios de ANMIC y la Oficina del Alto Comisionado para sensibilizar sobre esta cuestión urgente. Instamos a colaborar en los procesos de retorno de los desplazados internos, a mantener políticas de reconciliación y al respeto por el patrimonio cultural y religioso, en particular los centros sagrados. ANMIC desarrolla un importante trabajo en la zona, promoviendo la seguridad, estabilidad y el respeto de los derechos humanos. Es oportuno también destacar el trabajo de los asociados de Naciones Unidas en este tema, la Unión Europea y EULEX, la OSCE, la KFOR, que, entre otros, cooperan desde hace tiempo con la ANMIC. Destacamos el trabajo realizado con los jóvenes en cumplimiento de la resolución del Consejo de Seguridad 2250, la realización de la primera Asamblea de la Juventud de Kosovo, a través de la cual se fomentó la reconciliación y la visión de futuro, y los proyectos en general llevados adelante con ONU Mujeres y UNICEF, entre otras entidades. Asimismo, agradecemos a la labor de las diferentes organizaciones en el terreno que trabajan por el avance de Kosovo y la normalización de las relaciones entre las comunidades en la región. Finalmente, señor presidente, quisiéramos reconocer las expresiones del secretario general sobre el profundo pesar de las Naciones Unidas por el sufrimiento padecido por los habitantes de los campamentos de desplazados internos, donde se dieron casos de contaminación por plomo, y dar la bienvenida al establecimiento del Fondo Fiduciario para ejecutar proyectos de asistencia comunitaria, principalmente en Mitrovia Norte y Sur y en Leposavić, en beneficio de las comunidades romaní, ascalí y egiptana. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
أشكر السيد ممثل الأوروغواي على إحاطته. أعطي الكلمة إلى السيدة ممثلة الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Special Representative Tanin, for your update on UNMIC's activities. I also want to recognize the participation of Minister Dacic and Ambassador Citaku here today. We congratulate Kosovo on holding successful democratic elections in June, which international observers confirmed were free, fair, and peaceful with only isolated irregularities related to voter participation. This is a clear demonstration of Kosovo's democratic maturation. Of note, there was significant turnout in predominantly Kosovo Serb municipalities, highlighting the progress made in integrating Kosovo Serbs into Kosovo's democratic process. Mr. President, the United States appreciates the UN's efforts over the past 2 decades to help Kosovo build multi-ethnic democratic institutions that uphold the rule of law and respect human rights. We also appreciate and support the European Union's vital role as facilitator of the Brussels dialogue. We call on leaders in both Belgrade and Pristina to continue taking the needed steps to revitalize these talks, to fully implement the dialogue agreements, and to normalize relations. Following the elections, Kosovo's leaders must now cooperate and form a government without delay. The United States is ready to work with Kosovo's newly elected representatives on our shared agenda, including advancing Kosovo's Euro-Atlantic integration by normalizing relations with Serbia via the EU-led dialogue process, resolving Kosovo's border with Montenegro to unlock visa-free travel to the EU, undertaking reforms to strengthen democratic governance and the rule of law and foster economic growth, and promoting a multi-ethnic, peaceful, and stable Kosovo. As we partner with the government of Kosovo, civil society organizations, and relevant local institutions in this effort, we are pleased that Kosovo's citizens in both the public and private sectors have demonstrated their capacity to work with partners in the international community to address remaining challenges. Mr. President, UNMIC represents a UN peacekeeping success story, but the mission has long outlived its reason for existing, as we've said before in this chamber. Given Kosovo's steady and consistent progress and maturity over the years, the United States reiterates our ongoing call for the Security Council to wind down and end the mission. We are long overdue in taking this step. As a first step, the reporting period for UNMIC should be expanded to every 6 months or longer. We also recommend that the Secretary General provide in his next report an assessment of where budget and staff reductions can be made, with a focus on reducing redundancy, since the government of Kosovo has long ago demonstrated its clear competency and capacity to govern. In line with our responsibility to ensure that all UN missions are responsive and relevant to the situation on the ground, this Council must take an honest look at Kosovo and recognize Kosovo's significant progress and development. It is hard to justify continuing to support this mission when we see more urgent and pressing needs for UN peacekeeping in other parts of the world. This much is very clear. We have achieved our goals in Kosovo, and it's time to wrap UNMIC up. Lastly, we reaffirm our support for Kosovo's efforts to develop into a prosperous and peaceful multi-ethnic democracy, and we continue to strongly support full international recognition of Kosovo and Kosovo's membership in all relevant international organizations, including the UN and Interpol. We encourage UN member states who have not yet done so to join the more than 110 UN members who have already recognized Kosovo as an independent state. Thank you, Mr. President.
أشكر السيدة ممثلة الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية على بيانها، وأعطي الكلمة إلى السيد السفير ممثل إثيوبيا.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to thank the Special Representative of Secretary General and Head of the United Nations Interim Administration Mission in Kosovo, Ambassador Zahir Tanin, for his comprehensive briefing on the latest development in Kosovo. Obviously, Ambassador Tanin, an old colleague, is facing a major challenge, but I must say it's a very worthy duty that he is called upon to discharge. let me take this opportunity to welcome also the presence of First Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, His Excellency Dacic, at today's meeting, and would also like to thank him, and also Ambassador Citaku for their respective statements. Statements which obviously were laden with a lot of emotion and passion. We respect both. The issues are not simple, thus the need for UNMIC in our view. Mr. President, our position on the issue at hand has always been consistent and clear. We reaffirm our support to the peaceful and amicable resolution of all outstanding issues between Belgrade and Pristina in accordance with the Brussels Agreement. We also welcome the ongoing efforts made by the European Union in facilitating the dialogue between Serbia and Kosovo. In this regard, we take note of the informal meeting between the leadership of the two sides in Brussels under the auspices of the EU High Representative and their commitment to work on starting a new phase of the dialogue. Nonetheless, we understand from the report of the Secretary General that there has been limited progress in the EU-facilitated dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. It is particularly the lack of progress on some of the key provisions of the EU-facilitated agreements, including, among others, on the establishment of the association community of Serb-majority municipalities in Kosovo, which remains a source of concern. That is why we support the call made by the Secretary General on both parties to re-engage in dialogue and bring new vitality to the process. We hope the new leadership in both Belgrade and Pristina